Silence. A little bit of a new angle. Welcome, everybody. Watch it on the delay. See if we're coming through.
All right, we're good.
Hold on, let's see if I'm on the picture. We're gonna do all of our.
Your chair is.
All right, that's true. Chair is. We have a very high tech production.
Right.
Now we're listening to the delay about the delay.
At least one person's watching the show.
Thank you so much for joining us.
You're welcome.
Well, I'm saying it to you through there, not through there.
All right.
Yep. All right, let's go ahead and get started. People who watch for the first time, they're like, did they mean to have those periods of awkward silence and Ken playing on his computer for the show?
I ask myself the same question, and the answer is yes.
Yeah, we mean to do that.
Yeah.
Thank you for joining us on another Tuesday night. On behalf of First Amendment Sports, I'm Ken Marangolo. He's Kevin Ricca.
Thank you very much for joining us. We got a lot to talk about, man. We got some hoops all over the place, all kinds of history and present-day action.
This is the WCAC Spectacular, and let's see, we had a week of action in the league. What would we say? Probably 5 big games.
Yeah. We were talking about the top 5 and the crisscross matchups over the course of. I think most teams played 3 games this week. You know, they jammed them up tight. I think with the big schedule of the end of the week and some teams going out of town, that this was a big week. I know St. John's came down to the end of a 5-game stretch in 8 days, and a lot of teams were on a similar looking scale from the looks of the schedule. But
have they played all 5?
They played them.
So how did they do in the 5?
There was St. John's lost to DeMatha early on in the week. DeMatha got that W, 78-65. Justin Moore, Earl Timberlake, Jameer Young, the usual suspects with that squad. At home against the Cadets, were a little too tough in the fourth quarter, pulled away after a close 3-quarter game. St. John's took another tough one at the end of their 5-game stretch. O'Connell is pretty nasty in overtime, apparently. Hey, our boy coming off the gridiron, we keep saying it every week, and we do love it. I mean, he went nuts, dude. You can see he's starting to feel healthy and getting his basketball legs together because, you miss 7 weeks of football, turn around, play 1 game, and then turn to the hardwood. That's difficult. Well, he went for 23. Braylon Freeman for 24, and Marcus Dockery, 11 points, 9 assists, leading the charge with Charlie Weber again, a big double-double.
So 3 and 2. The Cats were 3 and 2 in those 5 games.
Yes, they went 3 and 2. And Game 5 was a overtime. It's just what it is, man.
That's great.
It is great.
I think that you got to call that a success. And hopefully you got something out of that DeMatha game and that O'Connell game. And my guess is you did. And
I think Coach Behan agrees with exactly what you just said.
They'll be ready for the tournament better, but more so because
only
of
because
the
it's January. Yeah. Exactly. Without a doubt, man. That's how you build it up. They say over at St. John's in the football season, iron sharpens iron. Well, that's all that there is in the basketball conference. Every time you turn around, there's a stud standing right in front of you. You got to knock them down or get knocked down.
Yep.
And what's important now is the getting back up of the process. Gonzaga taking a 62-58 loss to DeMatha as well.
Yep.
DeMatha's pretty good, man. I've noticed. There's a reason why you're number 3 in the nation.
Yeah.
We'll find out. If they could be the best team in the nation, we'll find out this Monday.
Coach, I do like what Coach Turner's doing on I Street. It should go without saying, and we won't forget to say and appreciate how good DeMatha is, and the fact that they are top 5, number 3 in the country in most rankings that matter. We're not going to lose sight of that, but the goodness of the next tier of talent and coaching in the league is definitely led by, among others, Gonzaga and what Coach Turner's doing. the fact that they're consistently in these games and giving teams like DeMatha a run for their money, and they're getting W's too.
And Ken, they're doing it. They lost Chuck Harris for this game, so they're playing a freshman point guard, a kid that we'll be talking about for eternity, it feels like. I mean, he's just starting in the league as a freshman. Devin Dinkins came in and played super solid. The kid does not play like a freshman. There's 2 freshman point guards out there right now that the whole world's talking about that reside right here in the WCAC. Doug McDaniel over at Paul VI.
What's his nickname again? Darren told us.
Yeah.
It's like Bug or something like that.
Yeah, well, Doug, D-U-G, Doug McDaniel. Everyone will have that spelling down pat over the next 4 years. But, they had a 3-game win streak this week, taking care of good counsel. Rolled on Gonzaga 69-44 in a matchup of the freshman point guards, and that's going to happen. There's going to be nights like that. Took care of Riken by 20, good counsel by 20, and Gonzaga by 25. Decent week for the Paul VI Panthers. Josh Odoro, the George Mason commit, had a huge 3-game stretch. The guy's playing lights out. He's all over the place. Then you got Avery Ford, Christian Mays, and then obviously the freshman taking over a point guard. After those 2 huge ACLs that went out,
Yep.
It's nice to have that type of depth where you can have a week like this in a league like this with a freshman point guard.
In most conferences in the country, where the people would argue are on the same level as the WCAC, there's really an awesome team at the top that wins, at least 2 or 3 major sports every year, and they're nationally known for like a powerhouse football team or an amazing basketball team. But in the WCAC, we also have that team. We've had 2 or 3 of that team in a lot of sports in a lot of seasons. But what people don't appreciate is that a team like Paul VI, who is that team, on any other year, and the fact that they're, when you lose 2 guys, then they're not that team because of that. They're not all of a sudden back to the drawing boards. They actually have like guys who wouldn't sniff these kinds of minutes otherwise, who are good enough to start anywhere in the entire country.
Yeah.
and plug and play.
And same thing, these bad nights in January can lead to one thing or another. And usually, these are the things that the coaches are talking about after the championship has been handed to them in early March, late February. These are the games that they go back and say, hey, we had to regroup after that 25-point. And that helps a coach, I think, to a certain degree, as long as the locker room can take care of itself, which obviously it can with these guys that have played together for so long. They're not just putting these teams together piece by piece. These guys, they're playing year-round basketball, Ken.
Yep.
They know each other. They know each other's games. Hey, it's a bad night. It happens.
The era of specialization that we always talk about, which is a very real thing, has one of the positive benefits of it for the DC area and high school sports specifically is that the best basketball players are playing basketball year-round in the biggest hotbed of basketball talent there is. We might hate it because we think multi-sport athletes have a leg up, and we like like it for all the reasons we've talked about. But we benefit from the era of specialization. We talk about teams, nationally ranked football teams whose best athletes aren't starting for a lot of these teams.
Right.
That doesn't happen a lot of places around the country.
And it's just like coaching. Each kid is a specifically different case. There might be a kid that benefits from the year-round specialization. It might be his thing. And, you can't argue with someone that has seen that happen, that has witnessed that happen, that has benefited from that process, which I think can be the case.
Sure.
There might be a kid, hey, he might not have any interest. Basketball is your love. Basketball is your love. You want to play it year-round? Go ahead and do it, buddy. Each kid is different. I just like the idea of someone playing a different sport every now and then just to mix it up a bit. But, hey, if that's the case, and so be it. And we can see the proof is in the pudding with the amount of Division I athletes we have playing, and we'll get to that. And Division I basketball coming directly from this league, that they weren't playing nothing else. So
and it's also the another hidden facet of how great the WCAC is there are guys who are just such sick athletes. They'll lace them up for some of these other sports just because they can, like Jamal Banks, who's gonna go out and be one of the best lacrosse players in the league in the spring after coming off the football field and looking dominant, against most opponents. So, I just love the fact that we're getting, that you can actually have. It's foreign to me to not be to not play a sport because you love it to death. Like there's guys who are just such amazing athletes. I mean, they just do it and then they're good at it, but they might not necessarily love it as much as you would if you had that chance. that level of physical, ability is present in the WCAC pretty much everywhere.
I think I take a peek at St. John's guard Casey Morcell, and I see outside linebacker, tailback, strong safety. I mean, anything he wants. That's just what he looks like. But, shout out to Casey getting his 1,000th point as a cadet this week under Coach Behan. But you know what? He's not wrong if he wants to play basketball 11 and a half months out of the year. We're not saying that. We're not judging. Obviously, everyone knows how we feel. We've been hitting this topic with a hammer.
It's
not. No. It's the idea that that's the only option.
That's right.
That's what we're trying to break, that stigma. It does not have to be. And when you're 8 years old, that has not revealed itself. That's the problem.
Now we're Russia.
That's the issue.
We're the Russia of the 1960s
Yes.
Olympics era. We're just making amazing generational basketball and football players, just out of thin air.
Right, but when they're sitting around playing video games over at someone's house and someone's like, man, Casey, you could have been an outside linebacker. And you start thinking about it, that would have been fun. But what's not fun? Football practice. You need to be a different breed to go out there.
Depends on the coach.
That. Yes.
Apparently, Jay Gruden's practice is not so hard. Marty Schottenheimer, people change teams.
You put on those wet pants for the second practice of a 2-a-day that had the morning dew and sweat on them, and mom wasn't there to wash them in between. You got to throw those bad boys back on, stiff-legged as you could possibly be, sun beaten down. That's not fun.
No.
But that's where you build. That's where you build the foundation, and everyone knows that has to happen. I've been trying to explain to my 8-year-old son, you sure you want to play? This is not going to be what you think it is. This ain't two-hand touch in the street. And when you don't get a break when the car comes by. You got to keep going.
That's right.
Yeah. Here's grass drills on YouTube. You like that? He's like, I can do it.
What are they talking about?
Exactly.
By
the way, someone's also going to try and smash you to death. So good luck
level
out
up.
there.
I'm going to need to level up a couple times before I try that. All right, who else played?
Well, you know what? We hit those big 5 games, Ken. I think it's time to hit the hammer on what we're doing this Tuesday night, don't you?
Sure. Let's get a quick Mustang update. And I say, of course, the Lady Mustangs. Number 1 in the country.
Number 1, not only in Max Preps, but also USA Today and ESPNW. It is. There is no debate.
Well known.
There's no debate in this nation who the best high school women's basketball team is.
So awesome.
There's no debate.
Coach Oliver,
As
congratulations
of right now,
again, and thank you.
Oh, yeah. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt that. But there's another team in this conference. It was the only other team that's been ranked number 1 in the country this year. So, they're
going to battle it out for the national title potentially in the WCAC.
And we got tickets and microphones, don't we?
Yep, we're going to be at McNamara next Tuesday night. When McNamara will be hosting St. John's. And what most people would say is the 1 versus 3 nationally ranked game. And then we'll be going to St. John's. I believe they play at St. John's on the 9th of February.
9th. Yep.
It's a Saturday night.
I think it's a Friday night.
Is it a Friday? Are you sure about that?
It might be a Saturday.
I thought for sure. I thought it said
the 12th is a Tuesday, so it's a Saturday.
I think it's
you're
a Saturday
right.
night.
It's a Saturday night.
It's going to be an awesome night, and St. John's will be hosting McNamara on that night. And then we do plan to be back in the St. John's gym on the 12th when they host the nationally ranked DeMatha Stags. And this is all part of our lead up for live broadcasts leading up to the WCAC tournament, which is going to be awesome and which could potentially decide, a girls' national title. Mm-hmm. And who knows if what DeMatha has in store. When they're at number 3, you win a league like this, someone's probably going to give you a number 1 vote.
Yeah, especially when you've been number 1 throughout the course of the year, and especially when you have what I believe is the clear-cut best player in the nation, sophomore AZ Fudd. We bang that drum here.
Yep.
We get it. We know it. I don't want to put any pressure on these young ladies, but they've been there before. But every time we show up to do a game, something happens on a national format.
I'm kind of thinking the same thing.
I mean, I'm not saying it has anything to do with us. Because it has zero to do with us. But we're coming. And every time we go, something crazy just unfolds right in front of us.
I'm looking forward to the excitement. It's going to be a high-quality product on the floor. And we'll try not to point standard def cameras at it. But if we have to, we will. We're going to figure out whatever way we can to get as much of that out to everybody as possible.
Well, leading up to this matchup, here's the case. They've been rolling. St. John's beats O'Connell 78-41, takes care of Seton 63-49. McNamara takes care of Seton as well, 68-37. They take care of Riken. They take care of Carroll. But here, I know we're both rooting for this. We don't want to see any stumbling before, but in a league like this, there's trap games stamped all over this. St. John's has got to take care of Carroll and Paul VI before this matchup happens. That's no joke.
No.
And McNamara, true to fashion in this league, we take on all comers, has a mid-season scheduled game against the number 18 team in the nation, St. Francis in Baltimore, with a Holy Cross game this week. So I know you and I are keeping our fingers crossed because we do want to see the 1-3 matchup and maybe see that number 2 team get knocked off. But in my mind, there's only been 2 teams ranked number 1 in the nation this year, and those 2 teams will be playing next Tuesday night, and we will be in Forestville.
We'll be there.
Front row seats or wherever the heck we are. We'll find that out. But we'll be there for, the best game in the country.
Yep. The best basketball you can watch will be on display on First Amendment Sports. So check us out. We'll get that promoted and we'll get the word out. It stinks not having T here tonight to talk about this next thing because we always take a lot of pride in talking about this topic, and that is the WCAC at the next level. Throughout the year, we'll do our best to do a show like this on some of the other sports. But given how good the basketball is, we thought, hey, why don't we talk about the WCAC players that are at the next level? And our research department is, let me just say, it's not well funded per se, but it's like basically like a government in a perpetual government shutdown. It's hoping for that back pay, but it shows up to work every single day and crushes it.
And ADD certainly tends to help this situation out. Due to weather conditions, I know we teased having the legendary George Leftwich on. We will. He will be on with us in 2 weeks, I believe.
Like an ice.
But yeah, there was a lot going on.
Capades
and,
out there.
We couldn't have T here tonight and couldn't have George here. It just made no sense to try and bring on a guy of his status, whatever that word is properly used as. A legendary human being in Washington, D.C. basketball is what he is, a 50-year coach, and we will have him on, and I cannot wait for that conversation. In fact, that's one night that we can show up here. We don't even have to talk into these mics. We'll just be doing some listening. But that'll be coming up here in the next 2 weeks. But as we speak, the week in WCAC history happens to be in the present. I took a peek at, and I just went Division I, and trust me, I'm a Division III guy. I played Division III basketball myself for a year while I was playing football at Catholic.
Lonergan?
I did. I played a year for Lonergan.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to, turn anyone away from any of that, but I just wanted to put the focus tonight on the amount of Division I basketball players. Now, you guys got to listen to this if you're at home paying attention, because I was blown away while I was doing this. And I'll ask you, Ken, how many Division I basketball players playing right now, came from the WCAC? How many WCAC kids are playing Division I college basketball right now?
So I tried to say, first I tried to attack it from the standpoint of how many Division I schools there are. I think there's over 300, right?
I think it's around, I want to say 340.
Okay, so that's 340 Division I programs. Then, so I was trying to think, okay, how...
Yeah, but 13 scholarships per team.
Yeah.
It's getting to a number that's...
So I came to the other direction, and I said, so we have 10, now 11 schools.
Mm-hmm. So the Heights doesn't have a chance to have anyone involved yet.
That's
so
right.
10
so
schools.
10 programs.
This is their first year active.
Graduating, say, each school graduating, say, 3 or 4 guys this season, something like that. Maybe, 3 or 4 guys getting graduated. Let's call it 3. 3 guys graduating per season. That's 30 guys. Of those 30 guys, I would argue, I'd say 20 Division I guys, and that minimum.
A minimum of 20 total Division I basketball players.
So that would get me to a number of 80.
I'm just asking. I'm not trying to get you to a...
That would get me to 80. And
80.
I think the number is higher than 80.
Higher than 80? There's 10 teams.
No.
This is Division I.
How many WCAC kids are in Division I? If I said the WCAC has graduated roughly 20 or so Division I guys every year for the last 4 years, that would mean there'd be roughly 80 WCAC guys in the league, which I think is a low number. So I
No. There's not a league that has, I don't think, as many as the WCAC, and 80 is a huge number.
80 is a huge number.
Some programs go 5 years without a guy. Now, there might be a couple up there that have...
But I'm thinking that you talked about the George Masons, like the George Masons D1, right? Yeah, they absolutely are. I mean,
but that's astronomical.
Okay, so then...
I'm just going to tell you now because...
45.
56.
Okay.
There are 56 active Division I basketball players from the WCAC. That's 16 of the 32 conferences represented in the nation. 16 of the 32 conferences have a WCAC player within conference. When you want to talk about the high majors, which is the Power 5, which everyone talks about, and then the term mid-major, I come to find out, was invented by old Catholic University basketball coach Jack Vance. Gets credit for the term mid-major, which I was also instructed by the reading of the NCAA that they do not use that term and never have, never will.
Nope.
But the rest of us do.
Yeah.
I mean, that's all we hear about. But the high major is what they're referring to, which includes the Power 5, the Mountain West, the American Athletic Conference, the Big East, and the A-10.
Okay.
25 men from the WCAC playing high major basketball. That's insane to me.
It's a lot.
Well, you just said 80, so you just got me nervous.
But I would have reined myself in.
You have to understand, like, some guys graduate 3 guys, then have no senior class coming up, and
that's right.
So it's not like there's 3 guys going Division I every year. That would mean that there's a whole lot of guys sitting on the bench.
So
that's 9 guys. That means there's 4 guys sitting out there, and it kind of gets to that point with some of the big dogs. But I'm going to break it down for you real quick.
But even at 56, so if you divide by 4, it's roughly 14 guys a year.
Yeah, but you're
would
talking
come out of the
Division
WCAC.
I free education.
Yeah, exactly.
Scholarship.
14.
This is
14 of like 20, 25 guys at every school graduates. That's pretty
14
strong.
years for a conference is gigantic to me.
Yes.
That's just a ridiculous amount. The Cadets leading the charge with 11 Division I active basketball players right now. I'm sorry, not leading the charge. Tied with DeMatha, who also has 11. T should be here. O'Connell with 10. That's Gonzaga and Paul VI tied with 6. McNamara 5. Riken 4. St. Mary's Riken 4. Bishop Ireton with 2, and Carroll's got 1. So this is, as things go, as programs go up and down, and the ebb and flow of this. I was blown away that it was 56. I couldn't believe it. I went through every ESPN and double checked through every roster, and there's some guys that have sat out a year or transferred, and I did not go with any guys that actually played in the WCC that might have transferred and graduated elsewhere. This is pure graduating from your senior class in the WCAC as a senior.
Yep.
And that is 56. High major, St. John's has got 6, DeMatha Paul VI 5, Gonzaga O'Connell 3, St. Mary's Riken 2, and McNamara with 1. There is just an absurd amount, but we could talk about that all night long, but there's 5 or 6 guys that are out there just giving ESPN and everyone else watching the world the business right now.
We got 2 in the last couple weeks. We talked about Chris.
Chris likes what he's doing right now.
He's actually blowing it up.
He was one of 4 guys, I think, brought into last year's freshman class, and he was ranked in the top 100, but they got 2 or 3 guys ahead of him that got a lot of the pub, a lot of the press. He just does not believe in any of that stuff. He doesn't care about stars or rankings. He is a baller, and he is, yes, a tad bit undersized, of course, but he is so big on the court, it's scary. I love watching him play the game.
Our boy from Riken, St. Mary's Riken.
Yes, Winston Tabbs. Real quick, let me just tell you, Chris Likes is averaging 17.9 points a game and 3.6 assists,
awesome.
Leading in both categories at Miami. He is 6th in the ACC in scoring as of today, and he's in the top 15. He's 14th in assists. He's a sophomore.
That's all.
And then, so you bring up the name Winston Tabbs. He's 2nd in points and assists at 14-1 and 2-7, 19th in the ACC in scoring. And if you want to get to it, there's a young man by the name of Xavier Johnson over at Pitt, this freshman, averaging 17 a game for Pitt, leading the team, 4.9 assists, also leading the team for Jeff Capel and the boys. He's 9th in the ACC in scoring and 3rd in the ACC in assists. You're talking about 2 freshmen and a sophomore. You're telling me that 2 years ago, those 3 guys were playing against each other in our league?
Well, we said the season in the WCC started off with 13 4-star guards.
It's guard. These are all guards we're talking about.
Yeah.
And listen, I'm an ACC guy, so we started off with there. But good Lordy, James Palmer Jr. You've heard the discussion.
We had him on the
We had him
hot
on the call in. Darren doesn't stop
Anthony
talking about. I love his game. Transferred out of Miami, headed out to Nebraska. T. Strachan couldn't believe it, and he said, "Why would you do that?" Well, I think the reason why you do that is to go out there and catch yourself 19 and a half a game in the Big Ten, also leading his team in assists. He's 3rd in scoring in the Big Ten. These are guys that they were just here and they're out there doing this. Let's hit up Jeff Doughton at Rhode Island, playing for Coach Dave Cox, my former teammate at St. John's, another WCAC alum. Jeff Doughton, 6th in the A-10 in scoring, leading his team in scoring and assists as well.
I always loved their jerseys.
Yeah, they're great, man. The ram head, it's sick. The baby blue.
The baby, it's the only acceptable. It was the only acceptable baby blue in my house growing up. Obviously you couldn't go UNC or.
Trust me, no UNC at my house growing up either. But talking about growing up around here, anyone listening has been paying attention to this guy, especially as of late. This just one of the tougher cadets, another undersized guy that just doesn't listen, doesn't pay attention to what anyone says, to the tune of 6th in the Big Ten in scoring and 5th in assists. I mean, these numbers are I was blown away. Anthony Cowan last night.
Yeah.
3 points at half. Maryland's comfortable, in control. They only scored, I think, 33 or 34 second half points. He got 18 of them, 10 of 10 from the free throw line. I mean, what type of leader just takes over a game?
It's
the point guard.
That style of play will show up in the tournament, which they are now projected to make.
And by the way, that's another young WCAC guard leading his team in points and assists. And Anthony Cowan, 6th in the Big Ten in scoring, 5th in the Big Ten in assists. These combo guards, these guys that are able to fill it up and distribute, they all were playing against each other or on the same team. And, it was crazy that when Markel Fultz-led DeMatha team didn't win the title. Well, you look at Anthony Cowan and Jeff Doughton, you start figuring out why.
Who's having the best, if you had to say which WCAC's guy is having the best year?
I mean, I'm looking at all these guys, and
Cowan really jumps off the page at me.
Cowan
or Palmer.
Certainly does. That's why I saved him. I think Palmer, as a senior out there in Nebraska, without a ton of talent around him.
He looks good.
He is shouldering the load, but you know what? So is Anthony Cowan, and this is I think Maryland has the 5th youngest team in the nation, and he has become a veteran on the team as a junior.
They're going to get younger next year because they're losing some young guys.
That's true, but they got some guys ready to rock and roll.
Yeah.
Reese Mona, another St. John's guy, got a little time last year as a walk-on, and this year hasn't seen much due to this. He's going to be a guy that plays his junior and senior year immense minutes. He's a stud. He's that guy. He's the glue guy. I mean, he's the guy that knocks down the open three, takes the charge. Next thing you know, gets the steal, gets the break going. There's a dunk, and everyone's pointing, pushing him around. That's the guy.
My Anthony Cowan vote is also because we talked on the Hot Box a lot, and maybe not so much on this show, is that I feel like Cowan was the only guy who even had a chance to be shouldered with the burden of this Maryland story over the last year and a half. So the football team was decimated by the Jordan McNair story and all the drama that surrounded that team throughout the season. And the news about Maryland was bad. The headlines were bad, and the updates were bad, and it's been a very negative story. And so I made the argument that the only guy at Maryland who even has a chance to be the guy who can take that, carry that kind of water for the University of Maryland, being on ESPN, being somebody who stands out in the conference, was Anthony Cowan. And I feel like he's had to have felt it at some point. Whether I don't think anyone's putting it on him, but I think it's working. I think he's doing that job. I think when people watch especially nationally ranked teams like go Nebraska, Indiana, you beat a good Wisconsin team. You go on the road and beat Rutgers. You pick up wins that you have to pick up in the Big Ten, but you're doing it behind a guy who is all of a sudden the face of a positive story out of Maryland.
Yes, they rely upon him. How about him starting off his career, trying to come in and play with for a season and then take over the role of another WCAC superstar, Melo Trimble. The pressure on him was immense his sophomore year. He felt that. He came down to the basement down here, had a nice conversation with us. Yep. His mom graduated Carroll a year or two before we did.
Sitting right here.
Sat right here. What a class act lady, class act family. Except for I think the dad's an Eagles fan, but we can work on that. But just great people, man, and super involved in the St. John's community. His sister's right now tearing it up on the St. John's Cadets women's team, number 3 in the country. You just got all kinds of good stuff going, and I love him for that. He's one of my cousin Nate Williams' best friends, and all he wanted to talk about was, hey, this guy's a way better dude than he is a basketball player. Where do you talk to him? He'd love it.
He's
so
awesome,
confident, but classy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And he started answering our questions with he didn't say no comment, but he definitely professionally, who do you want to play against most? He said, well, I'm just looking to play against anyone.
Yep.
Where would you like to play most? Well, there's a couple courts, but just at home.
Yep.
He was a pro. And but listen, I'm going to give you Anthony Cowan because I have to say this. What Xavier Johnson's doing, the O'Connell grad, for Jeff Capel, took over a Pitt team that just got bludgeoned last year. They started off the season this year. I think they're right now about 14-3. No one expected this. No one expected this turnaround. And I thoroughly believe Jeff Capel will turn around any program. Master recruiter, excellent basketball mind. But year one with one recruiting class under your belt, and you pull Xavier Johnson out of the WCAC from Joe Wooten over there at O'Connell, and then he's putting up 17-5 for you on a given night in this conference at this time of year.
He must be talking to Loxley.
I mean, I'm just telling you. I'm just telling you, this is the way to do it. That jumps out at me. Yes, I think we both agree. Cowan right now, and we've watched his journey. We've gotten to share in a tiny bit of it, and it's been a pleasure to watch. I know every time I click it on there, I am every possession. I'm living and dying by his play. And man, he's been tough. He's been smart, and he's not afraid to take that shot. He's not afraid to make that play. He's the guy they're looking to, and he's going to take them. You know, I'm starting to see stuff about, is Maryland a Final Four team? They're not having that conversation. Anthony Cowan's not having this type of year.
No.
That's all I'm saying.
Because the way he plays is the kind of basketball that wins tournament games. I like the number 56. 56 guys in Division I. We will we'll get to the girls side but because my guess is what's the number? Oh no, I'm saying the girls side is my guess is that the WCAC pumps out a hell of a lot of girls basketball players to the division.
Well, we're going to save that for next Tuesday.
Okay.
But I do know this. Paul the Sixth tweeted out, it was wonderful to watch women's college basketball on TV on this lovely snowy weekend, and listed 6 former Paul the Sixth Panthers, Lady Panthers, all Power 5 conferences, all played on TV this weekend.
Oh, wow.
And that's kind of what got the ball rolling with me, and I wanted to have something to talk about when we're courtside next week. But my guess is that number is going to be just as high, if not higher.
Oh, yes.
Get down to it.
Oh, yes. Awesome. Well, check us out. Live broadcast, First Amendment Sports, back in the booth on Tuesday night.
Real quick, don't get out of here yet.
I'm not getting out of here.
I'm going to give them one more before they go.
Give him one more before we go.
Well represented this weekend in
That's
the Naismith Memorial Hall of Fame Hoop Hall Classic.
Where does this thing even come from?
I don't know, man, but it's pretty awesome. Martin Luther King Jr. Day weekend, an extra day off. They must have convinced all these teams, major teams, 9 of the top 10 teams ranked in the nation, 13 of the top 20 teams in the nation, 29 games in 5 days. I don't know
number 1 versus number 3.
Well, that's the highlight of it.
Yes.
That's the highlight of all these games. There is 6 games between ranked teams coming up this weekend, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday.
You say 9 of the top 10?
9 of the top 10.
That's ridiculous.
Boys high school teams are present for this. Now, it's not so much of a tournament as it is a showcase, but there are 29 games in 5 days. Paul the Sixth taking on number 13, Shadow Mountain out of Phoenix, Arizona. You have Gonzaga, and that will be on Flow Sports. Saturday, Gonzaga is playing Olive Branch from Mississippi on ESPN Plus. And then you got the cherry on top
of them all.
It really is. Our DeMatha, number 3 in the country, taking on the number 1 team in the nation, La Lumiere from Indiana. And that will be on ESPNU at 5 p.m. on Monday.
That's must watch. Please do yourselves a favor. Watch that game. La Lumiere has one of the best players in the country, but they're just really. It's
they have about 4 of them.
Yeah,
they have 2 of the top 20.
Watch Hoosiers and then watch the La Lumiere game. We'll be rooting for DeMatha that day.
Springfield, Mass. What a cool deal! What a cool situation. The whole thing about it is awesome. I can't imagine you could put something.
Who goes to
like
school,
this.
by the way? How many basketball players? I mean, when do they have time for class?
Well, not Montverde is playing 3 times in the next 5 days. They're the only team with multiple games. I think teams backed out and they're like, Montverde, do you want in? You guys go to school on that bus, right?
I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm sure they're doing way more homework than I did, and I wasn't traveling to go to tournaments all the time. So
I mean, that's just super exciting. And last week I thought we were getting into this season. No, there's one more break. And I think that's why the WCAC compacted last week's schedule to allow some of our teams to be showcased on a national level. And when you're tuning in to the best high school boys basketball game of the season, DeMatha La Lumiere, I mean, come on, man. Monday afternoon on a day off. Can't imagine anything better. This is going to be ridiculous. And then right back into league play. I mean, we're right here. So Monday we'll watch that. Tuesday so Monday the 1 versus 3 involves the WCAC. Tuesday we're covering the 1 versus 3 in the nation, which has 2 WCAC teams involved.
Yep.
I mean, it's bizarre. It's bizarre that we get to do this. I love it, man.
Well, come hang out with us next Tuesday night, live from the very gym Lewis Bullock and I tore up freshman year. I like to fondly recall. Sweet Lou.
I love when Lewis tells that story.
Remember when me and Ken destroyed it in freshman gym class for a year on that floor? He tells it better.
He smiles and politely nods, though. that much I appreciate about it.
Until next Tuesday night, he's Kevin Ricca.
Hey, and I got one last thing I think you'll appreciate. Latrell Palmer committing to James Madison today.
I like that.
Yes, me too. With his other 2 teammates, James Madison has now got 4 first-team all-conference guys from this year's WCAC
They should
graduating
schedule
class.
Central Florida.
I mean, hey, Jalen Green, Julio Ayamel, and Latrell Palmer, all from good counsel, joining Sean Johns from Gonzaga, all first-team all-league. And before I get done here, O'Connell women's basketball coach, Aggie McCormick-Dix, congratulations on getting your 200th victory.
Congratulations, Coach. By the way, Sean Johns is so much fun to watch. You got to really like watching defensive line, but he shows up, he puts his arms out and he makes plays. And I don't know if he's, I'm a
Jalen Green guy too.
I know you're a Jalen Green guy, but I just, the last game, the last 2 games we did were Gonzaga games,
yeah.
and I thought he really played well. We saw him play against McNamara. He also played obviously great. So, Sean Johns, congratulations.
Yeah, and shout out to Kurt Signetti, the new coach hired in December at James Madison.
Good for him.
Well, very good for him. First thing he did was come into town, say, hey, I want 4 guys off this first-team all-conference roster you guys got going here. And I'll guarantee you that defense and running game just got a hell of a lot better.
Well, I've been loving Latrell Palmer's game for a while, and I would have loved to see him play for Army. I would have loved to see him play in a variety of places, but hopefully we can figure out a way to get a James Madison game on the big screen.
Hey, we're gonna have to get a Duke's banner back here, man.
We are.
And if old Coach Signetti keeps on coming down here, which I think he will once he sees what he has.
Yep.
I don't think they're going anywhere. And what a great place to go to school. Perfect. I wanted to go there. I wanted to go back up Darren at some
That's
point.
right. I
What
forgot
a great
about
place.
that.
It's just a great place. My sister-in-law went. Many friends. James Madison's a great place to go play football, compete for a national championship.
It is on the wrong side of the river, but as Virginia schools go, James Madison rocks.
Yeah.
A bunch of McNamara guys,
Doug
went there and
Grantham,
played.
my man Doug.
Yep.
These guys. Everyone that went there loves the place. These guys are gonna have a great time.
Oh, people who the cool thing about James Madison also that I really appreciate and respect about them, their alumni network is strong.
Yeah.
People that went
Yes,
there
it
wear
is.
it proudly, and I love that.
And I spent a couple weekends there. They don't mess around either.
No, they don't.
Yes, they enjoy their college experience.
Which again plays into the respect and admiration.
And I'm telling you, listen, Brian and Christopher Gilmore, those guys, they know how to get it done. A couple of my cousins are Dukes. I mean, I can't wait to root for them for the next few years. And if they want to keep tapping this WCAC, they're just doing the right thing.
Yep.
Well done, Coach.
This was the WCAC Spectacular on another Tuesday night. We're back live for a broadcast in the gym in McNamara. He's Kevin Ricca.
Hey, thank you guys very much for listening. Appreciate you. Go WCAC. Stay healthy.
I'm Ken Marangolo, and the WCAC is spectacular. Still live.
Still live.
Still live. Don't say anything, Kevin. Don't say anything. Don't tell him nothing.